There you go. Hey, what's up Transformdom? This is Ben here, and today we're going to take a look at the MH-Toys MH-01 Hurricane. And this is MH-Toys' masterpiece scale interpretation of Quietus. And that's right, this is the KO of the FT29, maybe 29T. We shall see. So this is the box from the front. One side, the other side, top, bottom, and back. So let's crack this puppy open. The instruction manual, very nice. And here we go. Additional face plates, nightstick. Wow, this nightstick feels very heavy. The IDW blades, samurai, yes, samurai swords. The nice metallic gun, another gun. His samurai bits, samurai helmet, an IDW face. And of course, the main guy himself. Wow, not bad. Feels quite hefty. Feels quite hefty indeed. Wow. Not bad. Some die cast. Pretty good quality. Quite impressed. Pretty good sculpt. Can't believe that this is just like 61 bucks or 65 bucks. Something like that along those lines. Wow, not bad. I'm quite impressed. I'm quite impressed. So let's get down to the review. So here's Hurricane with all his accessories, and before we start, I think maybe some FansToys loyalists are going to start smashing and bashing this video. So, I just want to put it out there that I have always bought originals and I also buy KOs. Now, the main reasons why I buy KOs is I want to play around with the toys. And so I also use that as an opportunity to do comps. So, I don't say that you should only buy KOs, nor do I say you should only buy authentics. I just buy both. And I don't really care, and I have no loyalty really to any one company. I just buy what I like. That's it. I'm just like a collector like anyone else. Anyway, so let's get down to it. So first of all, we have nightstick here, and you can see that the face is painted in gold, and the details is not very present. I can't really see the highlight. I can see a stripe of red to represent the eyes, and the face is definitely not detailed. It's like very smooshed, but everything else on nightstick seems okay until you of course compare with the authentic, where you will be able to distinguish the KOs having different detailings on all these things, and that's very true to the entire bot over there. So it moves okay. It's all on a friction joint. Everything is not tight and not loose, just right. Yeah, let's transform this guy. So this is my interpretation of how a nightstick is transformed to the gun mode, the target master mode. That's really cool. And here's how it fits on Hurricane. Yeah, the peg is very good. And this is how he fits on Quietus. Oh dear. QC. We also have this gun. Very nice, painted quite nicely. Maybe not to the standard of FansToys, but it's pretty good. And here's the gun on Hurricane. Again, very good quality. And we also have this little gun. I think this is the more cartoon accurate gun, and this is Hurricane holding the gun, rock steady. And here's Hurricane on the Universal FansToys flight stand, and it holds okay. There you go, not very good. I think the problem is with the adapter on the flight stand itself more than the tabbing. Yeah, the tabbing on the toy ain't perfect. There's a little tab here on the Universal flight stand that won't quite fit into the butt, but the back section here fits in better. The problem is the fitting on this little adapter peg tends to slip out under heavy shaking, and that's due to the weight of the toy. And this is a light version, by the way. So, and here are 3 extra faceplates. You got 2 faceplates with the goatee and 2 faceplates without the goatee. So let's swap the face out. So this is Hurricane with the stoic faceplate and the goatee, the stoic face without the goatee, the mad face with the goatee, and the mad face without the goatee. And here we have Hurricane in the samurai mode. As you can see, it looks pretty good. Articulation is about the same as Quietus, of course, because it's KO. There you go. And here's a close-up shot of Hurricane with the twin horns. And here's Hurricane with the battle-damaged horn. So here's Hurricane in his glorious Bart mode. And I've got to say, let's comment about the paint quality here. It's painted everywhere, very nice. There's a bit of a die cast on the chest, feels cold to the touch. A bit of die cast on the feet. And of course the joints back here. The chrome finishing is a lot better than the original. The paint is applied quite well, although it's not entirely perfect. As you can see, there are some imperfections, like a bit of overspray or underspray, and but just to put it on the shelf, I think he will stand reasonably well. Now, if you bring the original Quietus in here and you compare the details, like all these little details on the KO compared to the authentic, you can see that all these little details are either 1, more muted, or 2, shaped very differently due to what I suspect is that the KO company took this toy apart and recast every bit. And so some of the very finer details, like these stripes here on the forearms, they are not as pronounced here, and so the KO company probably went in to manually add those details. For example, the line work on the thighs here is very sharp and thin, and the lines here on the KO is wider and more blunt. So I mean, that's for me evidence that this KO did not derive from an AutoCAD file per se, but like any other Karate KO toys out there, these guys just kind of reversed engineered what we've got. Okay, standing the two toys side by side just to compare tones of the color. All right, the paint application here on the Quietus chest is a lot smoother. It's very nice and polished. The paint application on the KO, now that I see it side by side, I can see it's not perfect. It has lots of minute rough details, and I can see the reflection here is very fuzzed up. The reflection here is very clear. In terms of the color choices, there's a bit of a blue tone in these bits, and the blue bits here, the chest is a lot darker. The shoulders, where the plastic blue paint is, does not color match well with the die cast colors. The color matching on the Quietus is a lot better. The pink, I would say this pink here on the thighs and palms and biceps are a little bit more on the pink side compared to Quietus. And of course you can see the little clear translucent plastic bits here on the ab section. On the authentic, it's a lot brighter. It pops compared to the KO. And the translucent bits on the knee pads color matches better on the plastic knee pads here. This translucent bit is on a lighter side. You can see the contrast is a little bit more pronounced. Looking at these two toys side by side, I don't think the camera captures this well. There is more of a metallic sheen on these blue paint bits, and on the KO it has a little bit more of a matte look. They're trying to get this toy to have this metallic speck and sparkle, but they didn't really do a good job achieving that. In terms of heft, the original is definitely heavier than the KO. Now let's look at the joint tolerances for the KO compared to the authentic. The head on the authentic feels very nice and stiff. The KO head is a little loose. The shoulders, very nice and stiff on the authentic. The KO is a little looser, but still firm. Bicep on the authentic here is very, very loose. Yeah, on both sides. The KO, wow, the biceps is very stiff on elbow joints. Super loose on my authentic. Same thing on the other side. On the KO, it's a lot stiffer. Now for the shoulder joints, you can hear the ratchets, very soft ratchet. And then on the KO, much softer ratchet. Okay, the hip joints. Oh, hear that ratchet? Really nice and tight. Oh, it's pretty tight too. The knee joints on the authentic is very tight. On the KO is a little looser, but still quite strong. I did find myself having to finagle the knee joints quite a bit just to make it pose quite nicely. The ankle rockers, ooh, nice and tight. Ankle tilt, very nice, up and down. The rockers on the KO, yeah, it's a little looser, but still very firm and tight, and toe articulation is very tight too. And here are the hand sculpts. So you can see that this hand is definitely more Takara-esque, right? Very nice and smooth and more humanoid in style. This is the typical FansToys. Big fingers, thick fingers, looks very robotic and kind of ugly on these joints here. You can see the joints on the fingers. Yeah, doesn't seem to be as polished as the KO. So the KO's hands are definitely a leg up, and the authentic wrist is so loose, right? Look at that, how loose that is. The KO's wrist is nice and firm. And so here's Hurricane in the out mode. Taking a closer look at the toy, you can see that the paint job is applied pretty decently. I would say it's not to the expectations of a typical FansToys quality production. You can see some imperfections on the surface, right? You can see the reflection, it's just not as even. Some parts of the toy, being a KO, will not tap in properly. You can see that there's a bit of a gap here. I'll try to squeeze it in, but it's just the tolerances and the engineering leeway is just not there. You can see that some parts doesn't really overlap in nicely over here and all the thrusters, and this one is just kind of sunk in, although I'll try to push it up, and it's just kind of hard. The wings tends to be a little bit weaker where it's supposed to tap in quite nicely, and during transformation this little end piece here will kind of come off, although you can just kind of fit everything back in again. The cockpit opens up, although it was quite hard to do so, but you can see what's inside, or not really see what's inside. No mini Galvatron figure here. I would say that on my KO copy, the front end panel piece here fits in a lot nicer than the original. The originally sculpted hands do fit in quite nicely on Hurricane. And here's Hurricane on the FansToys Universal flight stand with the FT29 adapter. And Hurricane fits on the flight stand quite nicely. And so here's Quietus on the right and Hurricane on the left. You can see the contrast in terms of what the purple here. Quietus's purple is on the lighter side. This is definitely more on a bit of a blue tint on Hurricane. And let's do a side-by-side comp. The front section, you can see that on my Quietus, the panels tend to not tap in quite as nicely. But on Hurricane, it fits in quite nicely. On the wing section here, the middle body section on Quietus, you can see everything taps in very nicely. That's what you expect for an original mold. Thrusters overlap here very nicely. Tapping in the end piece here was very easy compared to Hurricane. Again, just a reminder, you can see that Hurricane has lots of gaps and tabbing issues. In terms of fit, the end plate is very good. This wing piece here is steady. Everything is tapped in very nicely in place. For Hurricane, the wings not tapped in as properly. This piece here is tapped in quite solidly, but that gappage, like I mentioned before. And on the leg section, you can see how neatly and everything tabs in on Quietus. Nothing much to see from the bottom, but there you go. And on Hurricane, this piece here taps in quite nicely. The end heel section, there's a bit of a gap, but of course from the bottom, you don't really see much difference. So here's Hurricane. So what are my thoughts on Hurricane? Let's talk about the 3 pros, and the 1 would be better. 1 pro, price point, definitely. No arguments there. 2, the elbow joints is stronger on Hurricane. 3, the front panel section on the alt mode on Hurricane taps in better. What about the negs of this Hurricane KO? Well, everything else is just less of a quality compared to FansToys Quietus. So would I recommend this toy if you're going to transform your toys quite often? I think the original is a lot more fun, even though the intention was to buy this guy to fool around with, but it's just not the case. If you're just gonna pose him and you already got the original, no, you don't need this toy. If you don't have Quietus and you like to get a representation of Cyclonus, you got a lot of options out there. But if you really wanted the FansToys representation of Cyclonus, then I would recommend getting the original over, but try to lock in your pre-orders because you don't want to pay scalper prices. If you missed out on the original FansToys, instead of paying scalper prices, you can pay this guy for a very low price and be reasonably happy. So those are my thoughts. What are your thoughts? Please leave them in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like and share buttons, and also smash the sub and bell icons because it really helps the channel. Again, this is Ben signing off, and I'll see you on the flip side.